All right. Welcome to the What is Truth podcast. Hope everyone is doing rather great. Had a couple of streaming issues. Apparently I was live streaming over on Odysee, which we will do after this segment. So if you were on Odysee and you caught a couple of live streams, I had a couple of malfunctions. Anyways, we are here. Some of us are of that nature, but nonetheless, we will get the show started. All right. What's up, Demelza? What's up, DJ Masi? What's up, Kitty Cat? Hope you're feeling better. Marion G of G's. Secret Squirrel. Miss T. And the lovely Miss Hev, of course. Got everyone. What's up, Stephanie? Hell yeah, UFC in the house. Should be a fun show. Let's see. Make sure I'm not missing anyone. What's up, Alex? George O'Brien. Welcome to the stream, y'all. All right. Weeping Willa. All right. So, before we get started, I do have Ian Davis on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, the 1st, which will be 2 p.m. or I'm sorry, my time, 2 p.m. Eastern and 7 p.m. UK time on Odysee. Ian Davis is a G of G's. I think I have his info real quick right here. I think you guys are going to enjoy that show. He is an awesome dude. Where is it? Thought I had it. Sorry. So, what the hell's going on here? Okay, there we go. There's Ian Davis. He's from the UK, and his perspectives are what caught my attention to him. Very, very intelligent guy, and that will be Tuesday live on Odysee, 7 p.m. And then on Thursday, I'll be with Charlie Robinson at 7 p.m. my time, so I'm not sure if I will do it live. Maybe I'll just pre-record it and upload it. So that's Charlie Robinson, my man. So it'll be a good next week coming up. So if you haven't already done so, please follow me on Odysee. Link should be there in the description there. All right, let's see here. That's not the one I want. Okay, there we go. Follow me on Odysee, and one way to help the show, besides the Patreon, of course, one way to do it without spending any money, all you have to spend is a couple of minutes, is if you can review the podcast. If you listen to it on Spotify, give it 5 stars, please. And if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, you can actually write a review. Had a couple of reviews that I hadn't seen in a while, and one of them said that the content is good, just a little too many pee-pee jokes, which we do on Odysee. Right here on YouTube, we try to keep it a little more rated G. So that's one way to really help the show. You know, ever since we had our Daddygate issues, it's been hard to, get the viewership. It's been a grind. We are coming up on episode 100 very soon. I'm trying to figure out who I'm going to have on for that special episode, but it's been a grind. I'm not going to lie. There's been several times where I've thought about just not continuing. It was a huge blow when I lost the channel, and starting from scratch has been tough, and I hadn't talked about it too much, but here I am. We're getting close on episode 100. Probably be reflecting more when I do that one, but yeah, it's been tough. Been thinking about throwing in the towel a few times. for the last few months. People have been getting quiet, even in the Facebook group. No reactions, no comments. People look at shit. It's been it's been messing with my mind, man, whether I need to continue or not. So if you guys enjoy the content, show me, please. Give me those reviews on the podcast platforms. I know it's a pain in the ass. It doesn't cost any money, but it takes a couple of minutes of your time to do. But it shows me that you guys really do care, that you guys really want me to continue. But the lack of inactivity, whether anywhere, on Twitter, on Facebook, on reviews, all that lack of inactivity is really messing with my mind in many ways. So if you guys could do that, I would really appreciate it. So sorry about the long promo. Let's get on to the damn show. All right. So Mark Zuckerberg was on the Joe Rogan podcast a couple of days ago. And I want to play a couple of clips for you that were rather interesting. It was almost a 3-hour podcast, and it was a 3-hour podcast. The first hour and change was kind of boring me, but maybe Joe Rogan was doing it on purpose, by design. He didn't want to get into the real meat of the discussion, or right off the bat. But around the 2-hour mark, Joe Rogan brings up the Hunter Biden laptop story, which was suppressed everywhere. Twitter, everywhere. YouTube. You couldn't talk about it. It was misinformation, Russian propaganda, blah, blah, blah. We now know that the Hunter Biden laptop story was 100% legitimate. And very, very nefarious activities went on. And Joe Rogan brought up that whole ordeal. And watch Mr. Zuckerberg's body language. Let me find it here. And let's play it, and we will break it down.
So just be vigilant. So our protocol is different from Twitter's. What Twitter did is they said you can't share this at all. We didn't do that. What we do is we have, if something is reported to us as potentially misinformation, important misinformation, we also have this third-party fact-checking program because we don't want to be deciding what's true and false. And for I think it was 5 or 7 days when it was basically being determined whether it was false, the distribution on Facebook was decreased, but people were still allowed to share it. So you could still share it, you could still consume it.
So when you say the distribution is decreased,
it got shared.
How does that work?
It basically, the ranking in newsfeed was a little bit less. So fewer people saw it than would have otherwise. So it definitely...
By what percentage?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it's meaningful. But basically a lot of people were still able to share it. We got a lot of complaints that was the case. Obviously this is a hyper-political issue, so depending on what side of the political spectrum, you either think we didn't censor enough or censored it way too much, but
right.
But we weren't sort of as black and white about it as Twitter. We just kind of thought, hey, look, if the FBI, which I still view as a legitimate institution in this country, it's like very professional law enforcement, if they come to us and tell us that we need to be on guard about something, then I want to take that seriously.
Did they specifically say you need to be on guard about that story?
No, I don't remember if it was that specifically, but it basically fit the pattern. When
something like that turns out to be real, is there regret for not having it evenly distributed and for throttling the distribution of that story?
What do you mean evenly distributed?
I mean evenly in that it's not suppressed. It's not.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because it turned out after the fact. The fact checkers looked into it. No one was able to say it was false. Right. So basically, it had this period where it was getting less distribution. So yeah. I mean, I think I think it sucks though. I think in the same way that probably having to go through a criminal trial but being proven innocent in the end sucks. It still sucks to have that you had to go through a criminal trial, but at the end you're free. So I don't know if the answer would have been don't do anything or don't have any process. I think the process was pretty.
All right, so enough of that nonsense. Very interesting that the FBI went to Facebook to have them remove the story. And freedom of speech, where is it? When you have government entities silencing things. And I'm going to cover Alex Berenson. If you guys don't know who Alex Berenson is, you guys will be... I mean, this is all related. This is what Joe Rogan had Zuckerberg on Thursday. Very next day, he had Alex Berenson on, who had been deplatformed off of Twitter. And he fought it. Twitter had to settle it. And Twitter had to reinstate him. And in Alex Berenson's case, the U.S. government went to Twitter and asked that he be removed. So here we have Zuckerberg saying the FBI asked them to shadow ban the Hunter Biden laptop story. And then we have the government telling Twitter to deplatform Alex Berenson. This is an egregious state of affairs that we're living in, where this blatant censorship, things that are true, in this case, the Hunter Biden laptop has been 100% proven true. In the case of Alex Berenson, who criticized the vaccines, everything he said had been 100% true, and he had to be forced to be reinstated. He forced himself to be reinstated. This is an egregious state of affairs we're living in, where this kind of bullshit is happening, and people getting deplatformed, getting labeled all kinds of crazy stuff. And then after the fact, when it's proven true, where there's no wiggle room to debate it, oh, oops, our bad is essentially what these clowns are saying. Troubling times. And yeah, so there was another timestamp I wanted to show real quick. And that was, what was it? 225:45. 225. Let me get to it, guys.
Shadow banning a real thing, and what does that mean?
Well, I mean, there's
Okay, so Joe Rogan asked him, is shadow banning a real thing? Let's hear him explain this.
no policy that is shadow banning, so I think it's sort of a slang term, but that maybe refers to some of the demotions that we're talking about, right? So if someone posts something that gets marked as false by a fact checker, then it'll get somewhat less shown in
just
feed.
that post, or all of their posts for the future.
I think that there's, if you do it once, then it's that, and then I think if there's like some history within a page, or there's kind of different rules for pages and groups and different things, then there can be some kind of broader policy that applies. But when I look into this stuff, because I mean, a lot of my friends and people I know just send me examples, because unfortunately there are a lot of mistakes. I mean, I think part of the issue is that, okay, if there's...
So he's trying to say that shadow banning isn't really a thing. It's a slang term, blah, blah, blah. Oh, really? Let me pull up Exhibit A. Let me pull it up here. Okay. So here we have I made this tweet. Again, tweet and retweet, y'all. What are you guys scared about? God damn it. Are you guys scared of the truth? Just kidding. So I made this tweet about an hour ago. So Mark Zuckerberg made the claim on the Joe Rogan podcast that Facebook does not shadow ban. Maybe I'm a little slow, but this appears to be a form of shadow banning that happened to me recently. If you're listening to audio form, check out my Odysee and you'll see the images. So here is a screenshot from my Facebook account. You have multiple restrictions on your account. See the restrictions. You can't go live for 35 days. You can't advertise for 35 days. Your group posts will be moved lower in feed for 35 days. I'm no rocket scientist, but that looks like some goddamn shadow banning. So for him to sit there and try to act like this shadow banning doesn't happen is completely absurd. And here's the kicker. This happened, as you can see there, on April 28th. These harsh restrictions were due to an image, a meme that I shared from Occupy Democrats. They put a meme of Trump. It was called a Trumptini, which was a mix of vodka and a part mix of bleach or Clorox. It was clearly a joke. It was clearly a funny meme. I shared it, and this is what happened to me 2 years later. If you don't think that's ridiculous, then I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, that really started to grind my gears, if you know what I'm saying. It's complete horseshit. So you can listen to the Zuckerberg podcast. I listened to all 3 hours, and those were the two main things that really got to me. Like I said, the first hour is kind of boring. He's trying to prop up the metaverse and all this crap. But yeah, those were two of the parts that I got to. And if you didn't want to listen to 3 hours, you just got a little taste of it right there. All right, let's move on to Alex Berenson. This is from Insider. The author is Katie Balls at my itch. Balovich. Sorry. I need to get my cum goggles on so that I can read. Just kidding. It's all jokes. I had to throw in the pee-pee jokes since someone wrote a review that I do pee-pee jokes a lot. So I got to throw them in, just to make them happy. All right. Alex Berenson has been permanently suspended from Twitter, a spokesperson told NBC News. Berenson called his suspension from Twitter censorship as he defended himself and relocated to Substack. In his final tweet, Berenson slammed COVID-19 vaccine mandates as insanity. Real quick, Alex Berenson is a former New York Times journalist, a quote-unquote legitimate journalist. He has been calling out the jabby jabs for quite some time, criticizing it. Everything he has said has been based on data and information publicly available to anyone and everyone. Everything he has said has come out to be factually true. So let's move on. Here is the editor's note. This story has been updated from an earlier version to more accurately reflect the types of messages Berenson was sharing, and to note that Twitter later reinstated Berenson's account. Look at the slant that this author takes. But it's hilarious. I do find it funny that they called him a vaccine skeptic. They didn't call him an anti-vaxxer, the pejorative that seems to prevail anyone criticizing this procedure. But they did call him a skeptic, which I guess is an upgrade. All right. Twitter permanently suspended former New York Times reporter Alex Berenson for violating the platform's COVID-19 misinformation guidelines. In his final tweet, Berenson slammed the vaccine COVID-19 mandates as insanity. It doesn't stop infection or transmission. Don't think of it as a vaccine. Think of it at best as a therapeutic with a limited window of efficacy and terrible side effect profile that must be dosed in advance of illness. as we want to mandate it. Insanity, Berenson tweeted. A Twitter spokesperson told NBC News that Berenson's account was permanently suspended for repeated violations of our COVID-19 misinformation rules. This was a tweet that did it. Entirely accurate, Berenson wrote, referencing his final tweet. I can't wait to hear what a jury will make of this. Berenson gained popularity among conservatives. Terrible. He gained popularity amongst anyone that didn't believe in these ridiculous mandates and forced procedures. And it wasn't all conservatives. I am far from conservative myself. Many of my friends are conservative, but I am far from it myself. And I enjoyed Berenson's take on this. So, but the way this slant is, it's there. You could see where they're going with this narrative. They're lightly trying to push him as a, I don't know, as some kind of a weird outcast, even though he himself is non-partisan, non-ideological. He slams Biden, he slams Trump. He's anything. But here you can see the narrative they're pushing here. For the past few weeks on Twitter, Berenson has mischaracterized just about every detail regarding the vaccines to make the dubious case that most people would be better off avoiding them. Quite dubious case, huh? He has proven why, so I don't know if it's quite dubious as this article claims. As his conspiratorial nonsense accelerates toward the pandemic's finish line, he has proved himself the secretariat of being wrong. Political Derek Thompson's wrote in April 2021. Boy, were you wrong, Mr. Thompson. He posted about his suspension on Substack. In a statement, he said, Twitter's actions qualified as censorship. We have reached a dangerous moment. Social media companies that have audiences which dwarf any other are now actively censoring reporters at the behest of governments. Berenson told Insider, I will continue to fight to get out the truth, and I'm considering legal options. Soon after the suspension, the Daily Beast said Berenson tweeted from a different account named @GenRescue. Censorship is dumb, a tweet from that account read. While the account currently has no identifying information at time of publication, the Daily Beast reported the account previously had definitely not Alex Berenson at its bio, which included a link to Berenson's Substack. Despite its initial indication on July 6, 2022, Twitter reinstated Berenson's account. In a statement to Insider, a Twitter spokesperson said the parties have come to a mutually acceptable resolution. Twitter has reinstated Mr. Berenson. Upon further review, Twitter acknowledges Mr. Berenson's tweets should not have led to a suspension at that time. Bravo to Mr. Berenson. He fought the system, has won victory against Twitter. He is now going after the U.S. American government. He was on, as I said earlier, he was on the Joe Rogan podcast yesterday. Or he was probably on a few days ago, but Joe Rogan released it yesterday. I listened to the entire podcast, and I don't agree with everything he says. There's some things that, I don't know about that, man. But you could tell he believes in what he speaks. And that, to me, is what I appreciate about people. You can tell when people are BSing you or feeding you some kind of bullshit story. And you can tell when people are legitimately convinced and have their conviction set. So although I don't agree with everything he says or writes, I love his sincerity, that comes across from him. And his work on the vaccines, as you can see here, Twitter has now acknowledged that everything he said was not Wrong. So I just read you what one person said about his stance and conspiratorial and all this crap, that pejoratives that they were tagging him with. And Twitter reinstated him and said everything he said was good. So now Mr. Berenson, according to his appearance on Joe Rogan, which I listened to, he is now suing the American government because they violated his First Amendment rights. He has shown on his Twitter that the government went to Twitter and asked Twitter to remove Alex Berenson. For the government to go to Twitter and have someone removed, that is a blatant show of defaming the First Amendment. And everything that he had said was correct. And for the government to go to Twitter to have him removed, there's no reason. I don't see how he can lose his court case. He's got a solid team, and I'm sure he's going to win. And good on him. He took on big Twitter. He took on big government. And he's already got one victory under his belt. And I have no question it's gonna be a slam dunk. He's got the evidence through discovery while his suit with Twitter. Through discovery, he got the emails confirming that the government was conspiring with Twitter to take him down. So good on him. All right, let's move on to our next delicious article. This is on The Guardian. I've got a couple articles from The Guardian that you may like, or not like. Like and subscribe, goddammit. If you haven't already, anyways. All right. Insects. Okay, this is from The Guardian. Author is Oliver Milkman. Maggot Milkman. I'm just making things up now. All right. Insects could give meaty taste to food and help environment, scientists find. I subscribe to my homeboy Eriobe Moric from Geopolitics and Empire. I subscribe to him everywhere, but I also follow him on his Telegram, and he posts a lot of great articles that he finds. So I did get inspiration from his Telegram. So that is a caveat. All right. Flavorings made from mealworms could one day be used on convenience food as a source of protein. Insects can be turned into meat-like flavors, helping provide a more environmentally friendly alternative to traditional meat options, scientists have discovered. Mealworms, the larval form of the yellow mealworm beetle, have been cooked with sugar by researchers who found that the result is a meat-like flavoring that could one day be used on convenience food as a source of protein. While meatworms have until now mostly been used as snacks for pets or as bait while fishing, they have potential as a food source for humans to help get the recognizable flavors of meat without the harmful impacts upon the climate, as well as direct air and water pollution of raising beef, pork, other animal-based foods. Insects are a nutritious and healthy food source with high amounts of fatty acids, vitamins, minerals, fiber, and high-quality protein, which is like that of meat. And I'm surprised they didn't say like chicken. Says In Hee Chol, a researcher at Wang Wang University in South Korea, who led the study. Many consumers seriously like and need animal protein in our diet. However, traditional livestock farming produces more greenhouse gas emissions than cars do. So here we go, pushing the green agenda. Yeah. Go green, everyone. In Odysee, we can get more into that. On the other hand, insect farming requires just a fraction of the land, water, and feed in comparison to traditional livestock farming. Cho said that the edible insects such as mealworms and crickets were superfoods that have long been enjoyed by communities in Asia, Africa, and South America. However, people in Europe and North America are generally more squeamish about eating insects, despite recent forays by several restaurants and supermarkets into providing insect options for consumers. So it seems like it's being pushed, ushering in a decade of eating bugs and such. The use of mealworms as a meat-like flavoring may help bridge this gap, researchers hope. The new study, which will be presented to the American Chemical Society this week, found that the flavors were released when mealworms were heated with sugars, with proteins and sugars interacting and caramelizing in a range of meat-like and savory flavors. Yeah! All right, enough of that shit. So be ready, bugs and such, to be on the foray of discussion, as some may say. Let's see, where are we at? Where is my image? Okay, before we move on to the next subject, I just wanted to... All right.
Eating bugs stops the weather.
This image goes perfectly perfectly with that article we just read. So next article, this will be our last one. This wind up went a little bit longer than usual, but it's been fun. All right, last article, here we go. Where the hell you at, bruh? Okay. Another inspiration from the Telegram by my boy Eryo Moric. From The Guardian, Chelsea Henshaw is the author. Tasty, tasty gummy bears. Look at that. Wind turbine blades could be recycled in mores and pieces, into gummy bears, scientists say. Researchers design composite resin for blades that can be broken down to make new products, including sweets. Look at that. That looks luscious.
It looks delicious. Gosh darn it.
All right. The next generation of wind turbine blades could be recycled into gummy bears at the end of their service, scientists have said. They want us to eat bugs, recycled wind turbines. What the, I'm a cameraman, is going on here? You know what I'm saying? Researchers at Michigan State University have made a composite resin for the blades by combining glass fibers with a plant-derived polymer and a synthetic one. Once the blades have reached the end of their lifespan, the materials can be broken down and recycled to make new products, including turbine blades and chewy sweets. Wind power is one of the dominant forms of renewable energy. However, turbine blades, usually made of fiberglass, can be as long as half of a football field and cause problems with disposal, with many discarded in landfills when they reach the end of their use cycle. To combat the waste, researchers designed a new form of resin. Digesting the resin into an alkaline solution produced potassium lactate, which can be purified and made into sweets and sports drinks. We recovered food-grade potassium lactate and use it to make gummy bear candies, which I ate, said John Dorgan, one of the authors of the paper. The alkaline digestion also released polymethyl methacrylate, or PMMA, a common acrylic material used in the windows of car and tail lights.
Sounds delicious. Yes.
On eating gummy bears that are derived from wind turbine, Dorgan says, a carbon atom derived from a plant like corn or grass is no different from a carbon atom that came from a fossil fuel. It's all part of the global carbon cycle, and we've shown that we can go from biomass in the field to durable plastic materials and back to foodstuffs. He added, the beauty of our resin system is that at the end of its use cycle, we can dissolve it, and that releases it from whatever matrix it's in so that it can be used over and over again in an infinite loop. That's the goal of the circular economy. Researchers will present their results on Tuesday at a meeting of the American Chemical Society. They plan to make the blades for field testing. All right. Who wants to eat some gummy bears? Oh, shit. Was my article going up? Yeah, it was. I believe so. Experts say. Yeah, it was. All right. I wasn't sure if it was showing. So there you have it. Thank you for joining me for this Weezy's Weekend Windup. I'm going to hurry up and make a link for the Odysee version. And shit, I didn't even have time to put the StreamYard link, so I'll put that up when I make the Odysee link. I just been in a grind trying to get all this squared away, and as you saw, I was a little delayed. So I'm gonna work on that. Look for me in about 20 minutes on Odysee. And if you can't find the link or whatever, come back to the video here on YouTube. The pinned comment will have the Odysee link, and that'll take you right to it. So if you can't find it when you go to Odysee, that's another way to do it. So I will see you guys in about 20 minutes. I need to hurry up and set that up. Thank you guys for coming out. Again, please help out with those reviews, and that will mean a lot to me, and truly appreciate everyone that has already done it. And if you haven't, thank you